What's up guys, and welcome back to another round of my 2019 F1 modded career mode, back today for the Bahrain Grand Prix for round number 2. In this series, of course, we are driving in the McLaren of Lando Norris. And if you enjoyed the first round of the season and you're looking forward to more action, make sure to leave a like down below. It was a brilliant race last time out in Australia, so check it out if you haven't already. And without further ado, let's get into the standings. So from last time out, it was Lewis Hamilton that took victory and the fastest lap, leaving him on 26 points. Unfortunately, we are down in P11, just missing out on points. So hopefully, this time in Bahrain, we can score some points. The constructor standings, of course, we're yet to get off the mark, and it's Mercedes leading the way at the top. So you may have noted in the last video that I said that this series was going to be uploaded every weekday. But after editing the first two races, I pretty much realised that that is not possible when you have a full-time job, if you actually want to make decent videos. So I've just decided I'm going to upload these whenever I feel like it. Hopefully there should be about 2 to 3 per week. But yeah, hopefully you guys understand, and I'd like to think the videos will be of a better quality as a result. So the sun had set and the lights were turned on for this qualifying session in Bahrain. And we were going into the final 30 seconds of the qualifying session, sat inside the top 10. So last time out in Australia, we only managed 15th in qualifying, so it was already looking like an improvement. The McLaren going a lot better around this Bahrain circuit. Of course, Lando Norris taking P6 in the real-life Grand Prix. But this is our final lap of the session, braking at the start of the rumble strip into turn 1. Having a little bit of a lock-up there, which compromised us. And you can see we actually lost a little bit of time compared to our first time that we set in this session. But on the run up now to turn 4 at the top of the hill, braking pretty nicely through there, and going down to third gear before running it all the way onto the curb at the end of sector 1, and we are pretty much dead level with our previous best time. Braking now into the difficult hairpin of turn 8 before we get the car straightened up. And we've actually gained quite a bit of time compared to our previous best lap. Now braking into the most difficult corner on the circuit, turns 9 and 10. We're trying to get a good exit, but actually being a little bit compromised by wheel spin. We've lost a little bit of time as we go on to one of the 2 DRS straights here. Now we come through turn 11, running it out nice and wide. And we actually don't gain any time by doing that, so we must have done exactly the same on our previous best lap. And now we come into the final sector, coming onto the penultimate straight and using as much of our remaining ERS as possible. And you can see we're pretty much dead level with our previous best time, so it's not been a good final sector so far, but we do get a good exit off the final corner, so we are going to improve on our previous best time. It's not going to be the greatest lap, and I believe that has taken us up to P11. Yes, indeed it has. So just outside the top 10, but it does leave us with a free choice of tyres. So running through the full grid for this Bahrain Grand Prix, it's Sebastian Vettel who qualified on pole ahead of Valtteri Bottas by less than 1/10 of a second. So Ferrari and Mercedes dominating, with Lewis Hamilton sat behind his teammate in P3, and Pierre Gasly putting in a good performance for Red Bull in P4. He's ahead of Charles Leclerc, and Max Verstappen, Gasly's teammate, lines up in 6th. Then we've got Magnussen and Hülkenberg on the 4th row, with Ricciardo and Raikkonen rounding out the top 10, with ourselves as Lando Norris starting in P11, alongside Lance Stroll with our teammate directly behind us in P13. A good qualifying session for George Russell in the Williams, putting it in P15, ahead of Sergio Perez and Alexander Albon. And then we've got Kubica, Giovinazzi and Daniel Kvyat rounding out the grid. It's race day here at the Bahrain International Circuit, and we are getting ready for the second round of this modded career mode with that man Sebastian Vettel on pole position. And let me know, guys, down in the comments where you think we're going to finish in this race and who you think is going to take the victory. Is it going to be Vettel, Hamilton, Bottas? Who knows? It could be any of them and more. But before we get into the race, this is what the race strategy is looking like. So, as we're outside of the top 10, we should be able to pull off a one-stop strategy. I'd imagine the front runners will be going for a two-stopper, considering they'll be starting on the softest compound, which are the super softs. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of strategies at play. So off we go then on the formation lap, and we'll take another look at the drivers' standing. So it is Lewis Hamilton, as I mentioned earlier, in the lead of the championship ahead of Sebastian Vettel, with Pierre Gasly putting in a pretty good performance last time out in third. Ourselves, of course, we're looking to get ourselves into that top 10 in the drivers' standings and score our first points of the season. It's only round 2, so it's still early days, but I would like to get off the mark. And we're in a very, very good position to do just that today, with the first car in the field on those soft tyres. And we're going to the 5 red lights now here in Bahrain, and away we go. It's not a bad start from ourselves. Although, of course, the cars ahead on the softer tyres have got a much better start than us. And Lance Stroll has got a good second phase there. And he's gone diving down the inside of pretty much everybody. And he is up ahead of the two Renaults, Hülkenberg and Ricciardo, who have almost come to blows. And we are still sat behind Kimi Raikkonen. And we have actually lost one position on the start to Lance Stroll. So we're down in P12. We've gone down the inside of Raikkonen, who breaks very, very early for turn 4. And as we come towards the end of the first sector, a big, big tank slapper on the exit of 4. I think we got onto the curb a little bit too much. And as we end the first sector, we're exactly where we were in P11. But we've got ahead of Raikkonen and fallen behind Lance Stroll. Now, we really want to get back ahead of Stroll, seeing as he is on exactly the same strategy as us, or at least you'd imagine he will be. But we have got two Renaults in front of us, of course, the car that we drove in the last season of the modded career mode. Nico Hülkenberg is the man in front of us, the man that we replaced, I guess you could say, last season. And we come now towards the end of Sector 2, this brilliant left-hander. It's really, really good fun in this game. These two sweeping corners, the left and the right of turns 11, 12, and then the next right-hander of 13, which we're going through right now. So we're within DRS range still, of course, of Nico Hülkenberg, but we're not going to get that until lap 3. So we're just really going to try and put ourselves in position here and see what our pace is like compared to the Renaults. Now, the McLaren was quite a bit slower than the Renault last time out in Australia, but if this first lap is anything to go by, we're not looking too bad. We're clinging onto the tail of Nico Hülkenberg, and as we go into the braking zone at turn 1, Hülkenberg and Ricciardo are keeping Lance Stroll very, very honest, as you would imagine, seeing as those two are on a softer compound than the Canadian. But now we come on the run-up to turn 4, and we haven't even had a look at an overtake on Hülkenberg at this stage of the race. So we now go to the end of lap 2, and Ricciardo and Hülkenberg all over the gearbox of Lance Stroll. And not even in DRS territory at the moment. It's only just enabled at the start of lap 3. And they are going 3 abreast into turn 1. Hülkenberg on the inside, Ricciardo on the outside, Stroll sandwiched in the middle. Who is going to come out on top? It's looking like Hülkenberg. No, then Ricciardo goes alongside him. The only thing we know at the moment is that Lance Stroll has come off the worst, and that we are very much closing in on them, as is Kimi Raikkonen behind. Now Stroll is going to have the inside into turn 4, but it's Hülkenberg that gets ahead, Ricciardo that loses out, and are we going to be able to get ahead of the Australian into the start of the second sector? Yes, we are. A lovely move into turn 6 and 7 in the little left, right, left complex. I don't really know what I was saying there, but it's quite a tight and twisty complex. And we got ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. So we're up into a points-paying position. For the first time all season, we get a bit of a tank slapper there on the exit of turn 10. We are on the DRS now, within range of Lance Stroll, and that is really the man that we want to try and get ahead of. So if we can stay with him for the next few laps, we should have the assistance of DRS, and it's looking as if Nico Hülkenberg, who's currently in P8, is putting a little bit of a gap between himself and Lance Stroll. So it's going to be touch and go as to whether Stroll gets DRS, which would give us a brilliant chance on the pit straight to get ahead of the Racing Point driver. Now we go through the final 2 corners of 14 and 15, right on the gearbox of Lance Stroll. And we are going to get DRS, and it looks as if he is not getting DRS, or is he? Yes, he is. So he must have just been within a second of Nico Hülkenberg, but that doesn't matter, because the straight line speed in this McLaren is actually pretty decent. We've gone all the way around the outside of Lance Stroll into P9 in this Grand Prix. We've already pulled off 3 overtakes. We've been overtaken once, and that equates to 2 positions gained. Although now Lance Stroll's come down our inside at turn 4. Rather unexpected, because that's not usually a re-overtaking spot. You know, I thought we would have got a good exit off turn 3, seeing as we'd already overtaken Stroll, but he tried to get down the inside of us. Fortunately, though, we managed to hold position. Now on to the end of lap 4, and we're eyeing up Nico Hülkenberg for P8. Now, in 7th place, we've got one of the Haas cars, who's really put a big gap between himself and Nico Hülkenberg. Of course, the squabbling with Hülkenberg, Ricciardo and Stroll probably didn't help their situation. But now we're eyeing up a move on Hülkenberg, get the cutback on the exit of turn 15. It's Kevin Magnussen up in P7, but we are very much fighting over P8 at the moment. 7th is looking a long way away as Lance Stroll comes sort of coming down the inside of us. I was going to say jolting down the inside, but I don't think that really made any sense. So we actually win a position and lose a position. Hülkenberg's down to 11th, Stroll's up to 8th, Ricciardo's up to 10th, we're down to 9th. It's all change, is all about all we know at this stage. And Bahrain is producing just like it tends to in real life. End of lap 5, less than 1 lap after we left the action last time. We are back on the tail of Lance Stroll. We get the DRS, and can we get a move done once again into turn 1? Yes, we do. The DRS is so powerful on this game at this circuit. And we go down the inside. And now we've got to try and stay ahead of Lance Stroll on the run to turn 4. We just can't get a good exit off turns 2 and 3. Really finding it difficult to get the throttle planted. And surely that'll give Stroll another opportunity to come down our inside. Yes, it does. And are we going to be able to get past him? No, we're not. Stroll putting the car in the correct position. Fair play to him on that one. Really, really good driving from the AI there. And we have to relinquish that position once again. But as we come to the start of lap 8, believe it or not, we're giving it another go to try and overtake Lance Stroll, as we've got Lewis Hamilton in the pit lane, which promotes us up a position. And I believe there is also a Red Bull in the pit lane, and we overtake Lance Stroll. It's all going on. We run deep. We're surely going to be re-overtaken once again by Stroll. But no, he actually has to get out of the throttle, and he's now being chased by Sebastian Vettel, who's already come into the pit lane and is already up behind us. And it's just all action at the moment. We've got some more cars in the pit lane. Of course, the super soft runners coming in at the moment. We've still got a few laps before we pit, seeing as we are on the soft tyres. And we are now leading the race, because we're the lead driver on the soft tyre. But we now have Valtteri Bottas on our tail, who has managed to leapfrog Sebastian Vettel in at the pit phase. So Bottas, the net leader of the race, and he is right on our tail at the moment. Although technically, you know, Bottas still has to stop again, and we have to stop again. So I guess we are the race leader, in effect. The net race leader and the actual race leader. But you can't imagine it's going to be like that for too much longer, because Bottas is harassing us. And he's got past us, but he's run so deep into turns 9 and 10 that he nearly compromised his line on the exit of there. We managed to get the DRS on Bottas, and we're actually going to think of making a move on him here. No, we think better of it, but we go all the way around the outside. We don't really want to be battling with Bottas, because it's not going to do our tyres any good, and it's not really a race that we should be running. Although we can't, of course, help but get involved in a little battle. It's been a bit lonely for a few laps after the manic first 7 or 8 of the race. We've had a bit of respite over the previous few laps. So we're just going to stick behind Bottas for the meantime and try and get the DRS off him, which we managed to successfully do. And the next man behind us is Sebastian Vettel, who's been behind us now for a few laps. And his teammate Charles Leclerc, I think, is right behind him as well. So Vettel has lost a lot of pace, and yes, indeed, Leclerc has got ahead of him on the run into turn 1 there. So it's going to be the Monegasque driver that's going ahead of us at the end of at the end of lap 11 at turn 14. But he runs deep into the final corner, and we get back past him. This is just one hell of a Grand Prix at the moment. I can't literally keep up with what is going on. We're still battling with Leclerc, who's going to try and have to go all the way around the outside. But we take a lovely line through the first corner. And we're trying to actually keep Leclerc behind us without compromising our own race too much. And sure enough, on lap 12, Leclerc is giving it another go on ourselves. He's gone down our inside. We're not going to fight him too much there, although if he does hold us up, I'll more than take the chance to try and overtake him. But yeah, unsurprisingly, Leclerc gets past us. He's in a much faster car. Our McLaren nowhere near equipped to be fighting with Ferraris. So yeah, Leclerc ahead of us. And we should be pitting before too long. Of course, it is lap 12. We've still got another 17 laps left in this Grand Prix. And we've got the medium tyres to fit to the end of the race. But we get on the DRS. We're not pitting quite yet. And, you know, why should we? We're getting some DRS on Charles Leclerc. We're not really being held up by Leclerc at the moment, because I'd imagine he'll be pulling away from us. But he's pulling us along with us at the moment. That's the way that I see it. And sure enough, at the end of lap 13, Leclerc has bolted off down the road. And we decide to come in for our one and hopefully only stop of the afternoon. We slow it down, well, by far in advance of the pit lane speed limit, and we're going to come into our pit box just about now. The McLaren crew in their lovely orange and blue suits, and it's a 2.5 second pit stop by the boys, which fair play to him, pretty decent stop, and hopefully he can get us out in a good position. Kimi Raikkonen's ahead of us, although I wouldn't really read too much into our position at the moment, because it's going to be a very, very mixed up order. We're currently behind Daniel Kvyat and Alex Albon, but I don't believe either of them have pitted as of yet. And we've still got over half of the Grand Prix left. And Charles Leclerc, the man that we were battling just a few laps ago, and the man that was sat in P2, is now out of the Grand Prix. He's pulled off to the side of turn 8, and it's terrible luck, just like he had in the real life Bahrain Grand Prix. And you've got to feel for him there. So, bad luck for him, but good for us is that we are ahead of Lance Stroll, but we are behind our teammate, Carlos Sainz, who came in a lap later and has done the overcut on us. I have no idea what has gone on there. We weren't even that slow on our outlap, or at least I didn't think we were. And Sainz, who has been nowhere near us, as far as I'm aware, in this Grand Prix, has now jumped us in the pit phase. So we're sat in P13 for the meantime, which is a little bit baffling, but we've got a few more cars in the pit lane now, one of which being Kimi Raikkonen in for his final stop of the afternoon, as is Daniel Ricciardo, as is Alexander Albon. No, Albon is still ahead of us, as is Daniel Kvyat, so they are running very, very deep into this Grand Prix, and our teammate Carlos Sainz has overtaken the pair of them into the first corner on lap 16 of this Grand Prix. And he is also ahead of one of the Red Bulls. I can't quite see who it is, but we've got Toro Rosso, Red Bull. It really is an energy drink sandwich between the two McLaren cars. But we are going to go down the inside of Albon. No, we're not. We're going to think better of it. Albon on a very worn set, you'd imagine, of the soft tyres at this stage. You can see how much pace he's losing in this middle sector, which is very dependent on traction, especially on the exit of this corner. And we do get a much better exit than Albon. And can we close up to make an overtake here at turn 11? We're going to try and go all the way around the outside of him. Can we get the purchase off the corner? We're running side by side with the Thai driver, but we managed to get past him. And, whoa, we get a bit of a tank slapper there. That could have been very, very disastrous if we'd have lost that one. But fortunately, we managed to keep the car, and we're up into a points-paying position behind the Russian Daniel Kvyat at the end of the lap. And he is fighting with Carlos Sainz. As Sainz has lost a position to one of the Red Bulls and must have really compromised himself into that final corner. And it looks as if Daniel Kvyat is now going to try and move on our teammate into turn 1. And yes, Daniel Kvyat, who's still got a pit stop left to make in this Grand Prix, has jumped ahead of Carlos Sainz. And we are now right on the tail of our teammate. It's going to be an interesting final 12 or 13 laps of this Grand Prix, and it could be a good little battle with our teammates, seeing as he is on the same strategy as us. So yeah, we should be battling right to the end of this Grand Prix, and we're looking like we're pretty similarly paced at this stage of the race. We're both going to get DRS at the end of lap 17, and ours is looking like it's a lot more powerful. The double slipstream that we got on Sainz and Kvyat has really paid dividends, And at the start of lap 18, we're going to go diving down the inside of both of them. But Kvyat's not giving up without a fight. Fair play to him. But he does just get out of the move into turn 2. And we are up into P8. It was Pierre Gasly that was fighting with Carlos Sainz earlier in the race, because he is in P7 at the moment. But Kvyat's come back at us into turn 4 by the looks of it. We're running side by side now into the start of the middle sector at turns 5 and 6. But as we go into turn 7, we are ahead of Kvyat once and for all, you'd like to think. Now on to the end of lap 18. Kvyat peels into the pit lane for his final stop of the afternoon. And we get ahead of a couple of other cars, including Sebastian Vettel. There we've got Lewis Hamilton just emerging from the pit lane on the soft tyres for his final stint of the race. And we are now up into P6, which is pretty decent, I have to admit. And I think a couple of the cars up ahead have still got to pit, including Kevin Magnussen, who I think is, you know, it's fair for me to assume that we can battle him to the end of the Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton, however, I'd probably disagree with that one. You'd imagine that he'll bolt away into the distance. And it's going to be touch and go on the DRS, but I think he's just over a second ahead of us at this time. Coming towards the end of lap 19, Hamilton's quite a bit more than a second ahead of us. Someone who's within a second, though, is Carlos Sainz, as we have now got Kevin Magnussen in the pit lane. We moved momentarily up into P5 before Sainz got ahead of us, and he's now up into 5th position. And what we don't want to be doing for the final 10 laps of the race is dueling too much with Carlos Sainz and compromising our race. So at this point, I'm thinking, you know what, I'm fine with sticking behind Sainz. If there's an opportunity to overtake him on the DRS, I'll do just that. But what we want to do is try and maximise the amount of points that we're going to be scoring for McLaren, and not get into any squabbles, not lose any positions behind us, because we've got Lance Stroll behind. There's also Sebastian Vettel, Kevin Magnussen. We've got the Renault boys behind us as well. So we don't really want to be doing too much wheel-to-wheel battling, but at the start of lap 21, we actually get a clean overtake done on Carlos Sainz. So I'll very much take that one, and we get the move done into the first corner before Sainz returns the favour at the start of lap 22, which I didn't fight. I thought, you know what, we'll just stick behind him, because we've got Sebastian Vettel behind. And if we do too much squabbling, we'll both end up losing a position to the Ferrari man. And as we go later on into lap 22, Vettel is very much sizing up a move on ourselves, as you would expect, on a softer tyre, in a much quicker car. But earlier on in the race, Vettel couldn't even get past us, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens at this stage of the race. The man that started on pole position has had an absolute nightmare. I think he'd lost some of his front wing earlier on in the Grand Prix, which could be part of the reason why he is struggling to get past us. But he has gone down our inside, and Sainz is locked up into the final corner. And, well, I said that we'd play the team game, but that was nothing to do with ourselves, as Vettel gets past us and Stroll gets past Sainz. That is a terrible few corners for our Spaniard teammate. But we are now going to be battling Sebastian Vettel. I've got no problem with battling with Vettel, because he's not our teammate. No love lost between ourselves and him. And we actually managed to get back ahead and into P5 in this Grand Prix. What a race this has been. We've still got 6.5 laps left to go. And Vettel is down our inside. Is he going to spin? No, he's kept it in a straight line, unlike the real-life Grand Prix. And, well, it's going to be very, very difficult for us to keep up with him now, because this middle sector is very, very difficult to follow cars, and especially if we're doing that, riding over curbs. That is not ideal whatsoever, and we've now got Lance Stroll right on our tails, so we just got completely thrown out by the curb, and I think we were pretty lucky not to end up in the wall there. So we're still in P6, fortunately, but Sebastian Vettel is well up the road now. We're not going to be battling him for the rest of the Grand Prix. It looks as if it's going to be between ourselves, Lance Stroll, and Carlos Sainz. And Stroll has gone down our inside, the man that we've been battling since the very first corner of this Grand Prix. 23 laps later, we are still battling with the Pink Panther. And now we go into the penultimate straight on this circuit. Stroll harvesting ERS by the looks of it. We've got plenty remaining to the end of the Grand Prix. Stroll goes to the inside, which is surely going to compromise his line. He goes quite deep into the final corner, but keeps us behind for the meantime. But we activate the overtake ERS mode, and it should be a relatively easy overtake into turn 1, although we've got the double DRS effect of that Carlos Sainz has got behind us, so who knows who's going to emerge in the lead of this pack. It's going to be ourselves ahead of Carlos Sainz, with Lance Stroll losing 2 positions. The DRS around this circuit is absolutely ridiculous. Just stupid amounts of power. And, well, we skip forward on to lap 25, and Sainz has somehow not managed to get past us, but we've got a massive train of cars behind us now. All the squabbling that we've done has allowed some more drivers to get into the mix for P6 in this Grand Prix, and Sainz takes it for the meantime. Like I said earlier, I'm not going to fight any moves from Carlos Sainz, because I believe that we've got the pace to keep up with our teammates. We're very, very similarly paced around this circuit. And I think before the end of the Grand Prix, we're going to get a chance to overtake him. So we come towards the end of the lap 27 of this Grand Prix. So we've got 2 to go now, and we've got Romain Grosjean behind us in the Haas car. So he's on a 2-stop strategy, and now we're going to try and get past Sainz, are we? Or are we going to stick behind? And yes, indeed we are, because we don't really want to be getting past him. On lap 28, we want the DRS on the final lap of the Grand Prix, and not leave Sainz a chance for him to overtake us. So we're going to stick behind for the meantime. Fortunately, Grosjean didn't overtake us. But yeah, we've got that 1 DRS zone at the start of lap 29, which I think is our best opportunity to get past Sainz. And we don't want him to have an opportunity to get past us before the end of the race. So I have a lot of confidence that we can get past him before the checkered flag, even though there's only a lap and a half left, as Valtteri Bottas sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. You'd imagine that's another point in his pocket. The man who I believe is leading this Grand Prix at the moment. So we'll take a look at exactly who is leading the race and has won the race in a lap or so's time. But for the meantime, we're going to concentrate on this battle for P6. It's been a brilliant afternoon for McLaren. It looks as if we're going to take 14 points home if it stays like this. 8 for Sainz and 6 for ourselves, although I do have a lot of confidence that we can get ahead of Sainz on the final lap of the Grand Prix. We're within half a second of him, and providing we can keep Romain Grosjean behind us, he doesn't look as if he is too close, then it should be 14 points for the boys in Papaya. So we come through the final corner on the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. We've got overtake ERS enabled. We've got a lot of ERS remaining for the final lap of the Grand Prix, so we can really burn that in the final few kilometres. We get ahead of Sainz, unsurprisingly, and now we're just going to try and bolt between now and the end of the Grand Prix, and hopefully Sainz can preserve that P7 as well. So you can see using overtake ERS on the run-up to turn 4 for the final time, and we do stay ahead of our more experienced teammate as we go down to high ERS, but we can still afford to use that pretty much for the rest of the race now. Fuel is looking fine as well. We can run rich mix and high ERS as Valtteri Bottas takes victory and the fastest lap on the final lap of the Grand Prix, meaning he has got 26 points coming his way. So well done to Mercedes, 2 victories out of 2, and as we come through the final corner, we've managed to fend off all of the threat from behind. It's P6 and P7 for McLaren with a best of the rest today, which I am incredibly happy with. And after scoring no points last time out, we have emulated what Norris did in real life and taken P6. But that man was the race winner, Valtteri Bottas, taking home 26 points, as I previously mentioned, and the Mercedes team looking pretty happy, as you can imagine. So the podium was Bottas ahead of the 2 Red Bulls. So that's a little bit different to what we saw in real life. And the poleman, Sebastian Vettel, could only come home in P5. But yeah, looking very, very good for the Mercedes drivers, just like the real life season. So there are some similarities that are taken from there. So anyway, the final race results. Bottas ahead of Verstappen and Gasly, with Hamilton and Vettel both losing positions on race day in 4th and 5th. Myself as Lando Norris and our teammate Carlos Sainz coming all the way from 11th and 13th on the grid to take 6th and 7th position, with Grosjean, Stroll and Ricciardo rounding out the points. It was a bad afternoon for Kevin Magnussen, who looked really good in the early stages of the Grand Prix, but he must have got caught in traffic and could only manage P11. And then Kimi Raikkonen and Antonio Giovinazzi in 12th and 13th, with Charles Leclerc the only DNF in this Grand Prix. So now taking a look at the standings, we've got Hamilton ahead of Bottas, with Verstappen in 3rd place. So that is actually the top 3 from real life. Then we've got Pierre Gasly in 4th, which is definitely not real, with Vettel in 5th, and ourselves ahead of Charles Leclerc. Somehow we've done it into P6. Then we've got McLaren in P4 in the championship at the moment. So after a disastrous first round when we scored 0 points, 14 this time out, and at 4th place to boot. Anyway, that is about it in what has been a very tiring Grand Prix for myself. My voice has really had it now. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, do make sure to leave a like down below. And I'll catch you guys for the Chinese Grand Prix next time out, the virtual 1000th race of F1. And I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.